Okay, so for tonight, we are going to start on our backs. And before we do that, so you're going to take your blankets and you're going to just roll them into a nice long cylinder shape. So we got a nice long tube to work with. We're going to set one underneath our knees down here. And then we're going to roll up our other one. And we're going to set them, that one behind you, long way. So this is going to go along your spine. One is going to go horizontally under your legs. You might need to just position things once you start to get on the floor. So I would set the legs up first, pull that blanket, stick it under your knees so you get a little bit of lift. And then you're going to bring this other blanket just to the base of the spine so that when you start to lie down, you can roll your spine down along the blanket. Allow your shoulders to fall on either side of the blanket. I'm going to turn the palms up toward the ceiling. Let the head relax. Go ahead and close the eyes. And you'll feel the blanket underneath you, supporting your knees and supporting your spine. And the one that's underneath your back is going to give you a little bit of lift under the heart. And you want to let your shoulders just drop on either side of that blanket. We'll take the first few breaths, just kind of get the wiggles out. So you might need to just maneuver a little bit against the blankets, make sure it's not uneven anywhere, that it's going along the spine, it's not poking anywhere. And then once you get yourself settled down into the floor, we'll start to deepen the breath, starting to make your inhales and your exhales a little bit longer. Go ahead and close your eyes, relax the jaw. Allow for full movement across the chest, into the belly. And as you let each breath go, let the body get a little heavier down into the props and down into the ground. And take 3 deep breaths here together. A nice long inhale through your nose. Open the mouth, exhale. Again, breathe in. Open the mouth, breathe out. And keep the lips sealed. We'll breathe in through the nose. Slow, gentle exhale out the nose. And then stay with this pace of your breath, moving in and out of the nose here. And we're going to bring our awareness first to just what you feel immediately in the body. That might be the temperature of the room. If you have air conditioning or fan on, you might feel the breeze against your skin. Maybe you feel a hard ground if you're on hard floors. If you're on carpet, maybe you feel a little bit more cushion underneath you. Maybe you feel the texture of your clothes against you. And as we start to take our awareness a little bit more into the body, you can start to ignore or let any outside sounds become a little softer, a little bit more muffled. And we want to keep our awareness kind of like a bubble that we're in. So anything else that might be happening outside of this hour, outside of this little bubble, just fades into the background. Maybe you hear cars passing down the road outside. Maybe you hear pets, kids. And we just all allow that thing, the things, to become ambient. Just be part of the background, part of just the setting that you're in. Nothing to have to fix or judge. Nothing to have to dwell on. Once you kind of get into this container that we're creating for ourselves, a safe space for you to experience your practice, maybe you bring your awareness just hovering over the skin, like one layer out, like the air right around your body. Your body is emitting heat. It might just be a little glow of heat. And then take it one more layer out. Maybe you notice your breath leaving your body, kind of pushing the air around you. And all of this is interconnected. From what's happening inside your body to what's happening on the surface of your skin, to how your breath and your body are affecting the air around you. We want to keep our awareness just in this little bubble and within this little surrounding of our body. And take note of any messages that your body's sending you. You're feeling a little tweak in a part of the body, or you're feeling the breath getting stuck somewhere. Maybe you feel more of the breath moving just into the right side of the body versus the left. These imbalances might show up, and it might just be an indication that throughout your day, at some point, your body was using one side of the body more than the other. Again, we're not here to force and fix anything per se. We're here to observe and to ease into our bodies so that we become a little bit more interconnected in a way that doesn't feel so separated outside, inside. Can you let your body get really heavy here? We'll stay for about 5 more breaths, letting the mind stay completely focused on this awareness, completely focused on sensation, and completely focused on your breath. One more inhale here. And let's set the feet on the floor. And we'll just slide this bottom blanket out from underneath so that you can bring the legs back onto the ground. You're going to roll to one side, doesn't matter which side, just enough to be able to slide this other blanket out from underneath your spine and then roll back onto the back, flat onto the back. And then let's draw the knees into the chest and then take them wide. Take them to the outsides of your ribs. You might add a little bit of a rock side to side against the low back. And then extend everything long onto the ground. So we're going to take the arms overhead. Just for now, we're going to start to get some reach of the fingers to the toes, like a good morning stretch. You might roll through the wrists, through the ankles. Again, these are just ways to kind of wake up the body, but also to take notes of any parts of the body that are still feeling tight. We can come back to those areas in a little bit. And now relax the arms overhead, relax the feet. We're going to start to walk your heels over to the right edge of your mat. You can cross right ankle over left or left over right, your choice here. Keep the backs of the hips onto the ground. So the only thing that's moving are the feet, taking your legs over to the right. And if you want a little more in the upper body, you can grab your left wrist with your right hand and draw that over toward the upper right of your mat behind you. We're just bananaing out the body, lengthening that left side. Shoulders and hips stay on the ground. We'll take some nice deep breaths into that left side. Notice where the breath moves. See if it's getting stuck just in the ribs, or maybe it's moving into the side body. Maybe it's going down the leg. Maybe you're going up through the shoulder. Once you get into the shape, you can just soften into it because the breath will do most of the work and gravity's doing a fair amount of work. 3 more inhales, match your exhales with the same length. And then bring your arms back to center, bring your legs back to center. We're gonna go the other side. So you're gonna start to walk your heels over to the left edge of your mat. Play with crossing one ankle over the other. Keep the hips in place. You wanna add the arms. You're gonna grab your right wrist with your left hand. Take this up and over toward the left. And then let the shoulders and the hips drop back into the ground. Breathe deeply through that right side. You want to get to a place where you feel just enough sensation through this right side. We're not overstraining the shoulders. We're not overstraining through the legs or the side. And stay for 5 more breaths. Last breath here. Bring everything back to center. Hug the knees back into the chest. Keep the knees together this time. Gentle rock side to side on the low back. And roll to one side, doesn't matter which one. We're going to press up to a seat, simple cross-legged seat here. All right, we're going to be taking some seated cat-cows. We're going to bring your hands in front of the knees here. As you inhale, you're going to bring your heart through the arms. Reach the heart up, look up. As you exhale, you're going to roll into the spine, tuck the chin, round in. Ooh, I'm already feeling a pop in the back. Inhale, heart comes through, lengthen. Follow the exhales, you round, curl in. Keep moving with your breath. And if you do get to a spot that just needs a little extra time or maybe a little extra movement, feel free to add that there. You can really use the hands in front of the knees, just a little bit more traction, helping you take the heart forward and also to lean back into that exhale. And then we'll come back to neutral here, sitting up nice and tall. You're going to curl your left hand out to the side, plant it on the floor. Keep your right sits bone down. We're going to take the right arm up and over for a side bend. And you can bend this left elbow if you feel like you need a little more spacing. Walk that hand out, just as long as you're not tipping all the way over and that right hip leaves the floor. We want to stay grounded into the floor here. Stay for another breath. Inhale your way back to center. Go the other way. Walk your right hand down to the floor next to you. Keep your left sit bone down. We're going to take the left arm up and over. And keep the chest rolled open to the front. Okay, for another deep breath in. Inhale your way back up. We're going to switch the cross of the legs so that you have the awkward leg in front. Just even out the hips here. From here, we're going to sit up really, really tall through the spine. Start to tuck your chin down towards your chest. And we're going to lace the hands behind the head. Let your elbows come forward. And the hands are here just for a little bit of weight on top of the head. So we're not really pulling the head forward. We're going to let the head get heavy on its own. And you can play with the positioning of the hands. The closer your hands are to the base of your skull, the lighter of the sensation, the stretch here. The higher up your hands go toward the top of your head, the more you'll feel it's just adding extra weight. So you can kind of play with where exactly you want your hands so that you feel just enough stretch in the back of the neck without any ripping sensations, no strong pulling sensations. And then we're going to give this a little bit of time. So what I find when I do these neck stretches, and I tend to get a lot of kind of stiff neck stuff from sleeping poorly, is that once you can really start to relax the jaw, you let the head really just kind of drop into this, things will start to slowly open without you having to do anything. And you might realize only when we come out of this how much deeper of a stretch you were getting than when you started. So we don't have to do a lot of extra work or force. Hands on the head, weight of the head will do most of it for us. The shoulders relaxed here. You might feel some of the stretch and sensation between the shoulder blades. Take 2 more breaths here. And keep the head heavy. Release the hands. And we're going to slowly roll your right ear towards your right shoulder. You're going to keep the chin low. This might be one of those, if you find a spot that needs a little extra time, you're just going to let the head kind of hang there. Once you get your head over to the right, we're just going to pause. Notice if the body is tilting to the right. You want to keep the body upright. The only thing that's moving is the head and the neck. And then while keeping the head heavy, right ear toward right shoulder, you might play with tipping the chin down toward the armpits, or playing with rotating the head so that the chin lifts up a little. And these are really subtle movements. You want to go really, really slow. Feel every millimeter of movement happening and just taking notice of the sensations that you're experiencing. Stay here for another breath. You're going to start to roll the chin back down toward the chest. Pause at center. And start to move to the left side. Really slow roll here. Left ear toward the left shoulder. You get to a place that feels like it needs a little extra time, hang out for a couple extra breaths. And once you get that left ear to the left shoulder again, you can play with a little bit of rotation of the head, chin pointing down toward the armpit, my chin lifting up. Stay here for one more breath. And then roll the chin back down toward the chest at center. And we're going to lift the head back up. And you're going to lace the hands behind the head again, cupping the base of the skull. And just as a counter stretch, you're going to lean your head into your hands and use your hands to lift the skull up. So just lengthening the neck here, getting a little bit of stretch in the front of the throat. One more breath here. And gently release the hands. All right. So we're going to set up with the legs going out, right leg out to about 45 degrees here. Left foot's going to come to your inner right thigh. And this might be a good spot to keep some of those blankets nearby. You might keep them like on top. Normally we would do like 2 blocks and a bolster. So if you have that at home, feel free to add that. I'm just going to do a little makeshift bolster situation on top of the leg. It's just a little something that we'll be able to lean onto. So first we're going to take a twist over to the left. So just using the hands on either side of your left knee, press yourself tall. Start to turn the torso to that left knee. And then keeping your right bone down, start to lean forward over that left knee. Just trying to get a little bit of stretch on that inner right thigh into the groin. Keep the spine long so you're not crunching into that low back. And we'll stay here for one more breath. And then we'll come all the way back up. This time we're going to turn the torso towards your right toes. So you're going to feel just a subtle twist through the belly. Here's where all this is going to be helpful here. We're not going to take a super deep fold here. We're just going to start to lean onto those props. I want you to work on getting a lot of length through the spine, keeping this left sit bone down. And just starting to lean forward into that fold until you feel something happening through the hips or in the back of your right leg. Again, this one's going to be more of gravity and breath and time rather than kind of forcing ourselves into a really, really deep fold. Now, you might start to feel things open after 5, 6, 7 breaths. And then if you want a little bit deeper, you can always kind of adjust and push your props more forward, closer to the ankle or the foot. Take notice of the low back here. We want to keep that nice and long. Loosen the jaw, relax the face. If you find your mind wandering as we hold these poses that are a little bit longer, try to come back to just what you're feeling directly in the body. Where do you feel stretching sensation? Where do you feel tight? Where do you feel uneven? Where do you feel long? And then give your body every opportunity to be able to take really full breaths here. So no tightening through the chest, the jaw or the face. Take one more breath here. We'll come back up. You can move your props out of the way. Lean back onto your hands. Set your feet a little bit wide on the floor. We're going to windshield wiper the knees side to side. Just see how things are going through the hamstrings, through the hips. All right, when you're ready for the other side, we're going to take your left leg out, right foot to the inside of your inner left thigh. And we're going to use the hands first. You're going to just turn the torso to your right knee. Take a subtle twist here. Keep this left hip down. We're going to lean over that right knee and get a little inner thigh stretch here. Just a little bit of twist through the body. Stay here for one more breath. Walk yourself back up. We're going to turn the heart toward your left toes this time. Set your props where you need them so that you have plenty of support. When you're ready to start taking this fold, get long through the spine first, and then gently lean into it. We're just taking things breath by breath here. I find that the beauty of yoga is that there's no definitive end game. I think sometimes when we see yogis who have very flexible bodies, they can twist themselves into pretzels, or they can do a one-handed handstand, or whatever these kind of glamour poses are. Those aren't really the point of yoga. All we're working with is what your body is presenting you in that moment in time. And these poses that we do will never show up the exact same every time we approach them. So if you had done this stretch in the morning, it would feel very, very different than what you're feeling at this hour of the day. And we do these without any judgments. Just try to stay in them, see what our bodies are telling us in this moment. And maybe you have bigger goals in the future, being able to get your head all the way to your leg, or maybe that's not a goal at all. And even then, we have to set our time frame to be flexible for whatever is to come. I always tell my students, put it on your 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan. There is no hurry or rush to accomplish anything, and to be with yourself. Stay for 3 more breaths. One more here. And gently come back up. You can move your props out of the way. We'll lean back onto the hands once more. Set the feet wide. Windshield wiper the knees side to side. All right. We're going to grab one of our blankets and make sure that it's in a nice tight roll. So if they had kind of come undone on the last few posts, just redo it. We're going to come to a kneeling posture and we're going to slide this blanket behind the knees. You might have to reach between the knees just to kind of pull it up as close into the knees as you can. We're going to keep the feet flat, toes pointing back behind you. And then we're going to lean onto this blanket and we're going to get right into our calves here. If you have very tight calves, calves are like one of these muscles that we use often, but we don't think often to stretch them. This might feel excruciating. So what I want you to do is ease onto the blanket so you feel enough. If you need to kind of stay more forward, do that. Don't feel like you need to put all of your weight onto this blanket. And this does not have to be static. So you might have a little bit of a rock side to side if it's too much at one time. You can even play with leaning back if it's not enough. We're just going to give this a moment. Try to relax your hamstrings, relax your calves, allow for the blanket to press into the muscle. We're going to get some compression here. Just slow down the breath. If you tend to clench your hands into fists or you're clenching your teeth, what I want you to do is kind of just relax the hands. Might even turn the palms up. That'll encourage you to kind of leave your hands alone. And then keep some separation between your top and bottom teeth. A little bit slack-jawed, just to keep it from being too easy to tighten and grip. Work with the breath here. We're here for 3 more. One more breath. Rock forward and we're going to readjust where the blanket is. So we had it really close up to where your knee bends. So I want to bring it about halfway down. So I'm about like where the thickest part of my calves are. So once you have the blanket about halfway down, we'll do the same exercise, just kind of leaning back. It's going to be a little bit different sensation because we're getting a different part of the muscle. And again, if you need to turn those palms up, relax the jaw, do what you got to do. Stay with the breath here. Nice deep breaths in and out of the nose. Notice if your mind is starting to resist this amount of compression into the muscle. How can you coax your mind to relax? Can you really focus on that breath and see if the breath can bring the mind along with it? We'll stay for 2 more. One more here. And then we'll lean forward and we're going to adjust the blanket one more time. So this time we're going to bring it pretty close to the ankles. So just the bottom part of the calf where it starts to connect into the Achilles. And we'll do it one last time. So you're going to really start to feel that pressure into the ankles this time, back to the heels. And back to that breath. Two more inhales. All right, come on to the hands. You can move this blanket out of the way. We're going to tap out the feet a little if you lost a little blood in the feet. And then one leg at a time, you're going to step one foot back and you're just going to lean into the heel here. Rocking back and forth, getting some stretch through the toes. through the arch of the foot, into the calf. And make sure to do the other side. Should feel very different after having a couple minutes of compression through that muscle. All right, from here, let's roll ourselves down onto your back. We'll keep these blankets handy. We'll want to keep them in a roll so that we can grab them in a second. So just kind of set it to the side in our swift roll of a blanket. All right, you're gonna roll yourself down onto your back. Take the feet as wide as your mat and knock your knees together. And so allow the low back to rest into the floor. You can relax your hands on the ground, palms up. Snuggle your shoulder blades flat into the ground. We're just gonna take a moment here with the knees together. Feeling the ground underneath you hold you. Two more breaths in. Draw the knees into your chest. Give it a gentle rock side to side. From here, we're going to cross your right knee over the left. So right knee all the way over to the left, and you're going to draw your knees into the body. And then you're going to grab somewhere along each leg. So that might be the shin, that might be really close to the knee, or it might be all the way to the ankles or the feet. What you're going to start to feel pretty quickly is a big stretch on the outer edge of your right hip. And then you can kind of play with this. The closer the legs are to the chest and the tighter the legs are into the body, the deeper of a sensation you're going to feel. So you can always kind of just back it off, or maybe you just hold on to the front of the knees so that you have a little bit more space. But get to a place where you feel enough sensation here. And you can still breathe in and out of the nose. There's still room for movement, side of the body, back of the body. You're able to keep your face relaxed and soft, no clenching of the teeth. And just like with our other poses where we're letting time and gravity do more of the work, your legs are heavy coming into the body. So you don't have to add that much more with the hands. The hands are really just to hold the legs in place. Give us 3 more breaths. And then release. We're going to take the legs wide into happy baby. So elbows on the insides of your knees. You're either grabbing for the outside of your feet or maybe your big toes. And you want to try to draw the knees closer to your armpits. Heels are pointing up toward the ceiling. This can be static, or this might add a little bit of a rock side to side. And then bring the feet back to the floor about hips width distance. We're going to set up the other way. So you're going to put your left knee over right this time. And you start to bring the knees in toward the body, and then you're going to grab somewhere along your legs. Shins, ankles, front of the knees, feet, whatever works here for you. Get to a place where you start to feel some stretch on the outer edge of your left hip, letting these knees get heavy as they come toward the body. Slow the breath down. If you're feeling constricted in your breath with the legs coming in, that's stopping the diaphragm from moving all the way down. But that's okay because you have some room in your ribs that can still move side to side. There isn't anything really blocking the chest. Let the chest rise and fall. You might even feel the back body puff up with each inhale, kind of pushing you away from the ground a little. 3 more inhales. Release the legs, uncross them. And come back to that happy baby, elbows on the insides of the knees. Feet are pointing up to the sky. This can be static, or this can have a little bit of movement. And then bring the feet back on the floor. Reach over and grab your blanket. And we're going to press the feet into the ground just enough that you can lift your hips. We're going to slide this blanket underneath the sacrum, so the flat part of the back of your pelvis. You're going to let the hips settle onto your blanket. Make sure that the shoulders are happy here. And then we're going to take both legs straight up to the sky. Feet together, and the feet are kind of just relaxed here, little Barbie feet. So they're not flexed, they're not pointed. You might need to just adjust where that blanket's lifting. So you want this little lift of the hips. And if you have a block handy, you could use a block instead. Or if you have a bolster, we're going to allow for some reverse circulation here. All the fluids that kind of build up in our legs from sitting or standing too long. Letting that drain a little more freely back to the heart. Try not to lock out the knees. One more breath here. A little bend the knees, placing the feet back on the floor. Keep the hips on your blanket. Hug your right knee into your chest. If you want a little bit more stretch through the hips here, you can start to slide your left leg forward and long. We have this blanket here giving us a subtle lift under the hips. It might feel a little extra in the front of your left hip crease if you're keeping this lift for the hips. One more breath in. Bring your left foot back on the floor, and then we'll release your right foot. Go to the other side. Left knee is going to come in. Give it a tight squeeze in first. See how that sensation feels through the hips. If you want more, extend your right leg long on the ground. Last 2 breaths. Rebend your right knee if you'd extended it. Bring that foot on the floor, and then release your left foot. We're going to lift the hips here, just bringing this blanket out from underneath. Slowly lower the spine back onto the ground. Then you can either bring the feet wide on the mat, knees together, let the low back sink back into the floor, or if it feels better, hug the knees back into the chest. Take a little bit of movement here if you're bringing the knees in. Here, we're going to extend your left leg long on the ground. Draw the right knee back in. You might want to blanket to the left side of your mat here. We're going to take our twist, bringing that right knee all the way over toward the left onto that blanket so you get a little bit more support underneath. And then maybe letting that right arm fall out to the side, or you can cactus the elbow, or if that's too much of an opening, you can rest your right hand along your waist. And we'll let the back body settle into the floor. Feel the twist move through the belly, through the low back. Can you let your limbs get really heavy? Start to bring the leg back through center. Reset your hips. And just take a moment here in neutral and center. Maybe legs are extended, or you can have the feet wide, knees together. You're ready to twist to the other side. Move your blanket over to the right side of your mat. Right leg is long, left knee comes in. Take that left knee all the way across over to the right, finding that blanket. Maybe the left arm falls open, maybe it's cactus, maybe it's resting on the waist, whatever feels better for you here. And then once you're in the twist, soften into it. Relax any muscles that might have resisted or started to tighten as you come into the twist. And roll back onto the back. You center your hips if you'd shifted them out of the way, and then we'll draw the knees back into the chest. Any final little rocking motions that you want to take, maybe circling the knees. And then we'll start to set up for our Shavasana. And I'm going to offer up a little bit more lift through the legs. If you want to take that, so you can do a roll under the ankles. And a second roll under the knees. And that'll give your legs just a little bit more lift, and that's a nice way to just kind of end the day. And you'll take your feet a little bit wider to about as wide as your mat. Let your feet flop open. Take a time to flatten your shoulder blades into the ground. Turn the palms up. Move the hands away from the body a few inches. If you're still feeling anything behind the neck, take a gentle rock of the head, side to side. And feeling the back of the skull heavy into the floor. We're going to take 3 cleansing breaths here together. Nice long inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, release. Do that again. Breathe in, fill up the belly. Open mouth, release. Last time. Fill up. And then let go of your practice. Let your breath come back to normal. Feel the soft rise and fall of your chest and your belly. Feel the weight of the bones in your legs and supported by blankets and floor. Relax the space between the eyebrows. Keep the jaw soft, loose. We'll take these last few minutes coming back to where we started, feeling the body, sensation, and noticing breath. Gently deepen your breath. Invite small movements back into your fingers and your toes. Roll through the wrists and the ankles. Reach your arms overhead. Take a full body stretch. Yawn. Move your jaw around. And then hug the knees into your chest and roll over to your left, coming into fetal position. Take a few breaths here on your side. Keeping the eyes closed or soft, press your way up to a comfortable seat. We'll bring palms together at heart center. Give yourself just another moment here, having the quiet of your mind, feeling full breaths moving through the body. Just being able to carve out an hour for yourself. Let's feel our practice tonight of a single Om. First, take a full breath in through your nose. Exhale out the mouth. Inhale to chant. Om. Namaste.